Gary's Chainsaw Sharpening 101. I'm not using anything real expensive. I'm not using anything most people don't probably have in their shop. A workbench. This is a Stihl 361, fairly large saw. Technique works for just about any chainsaw from any brand. You'll notice that on the bench I've got marked some lines, referencing lines. This is to help me keep my basic Dremel tool aligned. So when I work, I'm working on a tooth. I'm just kind of watching that I'm keeping my Dremel tool aligned with that. 60 degrees is correct for the Stihl. It may vary on some different chain brands. Check your chain brand and find out what the correct is. One way to set this up is to use a carpenter's square. Use the 7-inch mark and the 12-inch mark on the edge of the bench. 7, 12. Mark with a magic marker to make your lines. Flip it over. Same thing going the other way. 7, 12. Make your lines going the other way. Nothing real fancy here as far as spacing. I work with a tight chain for this. You don't want the chain sloppy. It lets the teeth rock. It makes it a little bit tougher to deal with. You want to wear gloves. It's a chainsaw chain. It's sharp. Accidents happen. I always start with a magic marker and mark one tooth for a reference tooth so I know one I've gotten all the way around the chain. I'll sharpen all the way around the chain on one side, then I'll just change angles and go all the way around the chain on the other side. There's a couple of tricks to working with a simple Dremel tool as compared to a fancy cut-off chainsaw sharpening tool. You're using this line to help hold your alignment here. You also have to maintain level. You don't want to get way down here. You don't want to get way up here. You want to keep the tool level. I don't use any particular guide for that. I just kind of pick level and kind of keep an eye that I'm holding it there. The most common mistake I see with guys running these type of sharpening tools is that they just hold the tool in one spot. This will immediately cut a groove in your stone, and your stone will quickly become useless. This stone has probably got about 4 or 5 sharpenings on it. The trick is to work slowly but consistently back and forth the entire length of the stone on the tooth. This way the stone wears down evenly over its whole length. Again, this stone has probably 5 or 6 sharpenings on it. And that's pretty much what I do. The rest of this now will be basically I'm going to sharpen my chain. I was out in the woods today, cut up about a half a cord of oak out of the woods. I don't think I nicked any stones, but a couple of the teeth have some marks on them. I'm running, I don't run at the slowest speed. I run about 2 or 3. I'm not trying to get every tooth perfect. I'm trying to take a couple of cuts. You don't want to overheat the teeth. You don't want to put a lot of pressure. So just consistent zing, zing, zing all the way around the chain. They don't want to needlessly wear out the teeth on the saw just by grinding them away. The other trick to this is maintaining the correct height of the stone compared to the face of the tooth. Hopefully you can see this close enough. You can, if you're pushing down, you'll actually get the stone to drop so far down that the tooth will get very, very thin on the edge. It'll be nice and sharp, but it will not hold that sharpness. It'll immediately get dull out in the woods. If you lift too much, you can get the stone up too high. The face of the tooth gets too steep and it won't cut very efficiently. So about 1/3 of the stone above the face of the tooth seems to be about the sweet spot for that. Okay, sharpening a chain. You'll notice I'm actually applying a little bit of upward force. The tendency is to let the stone drift down and make your tooth a little bit too thin on the edge. So I'm pushing back a little bit and lifting a little bit. Occasionally while doing that, you'll see that I'll bop the stone up above the tooth. No big deal, just sharpen a little bit more. You'll see, notice that I've got my finger hooked over the blade, kind of makes a nice guide. I'll keep it out of the way a little bit so you can see without, but having that finger on there kind of helps you gauge your back and forth motion, so you use the whole length of the stone, but don't go sliding off of either end. Back to the finger on. There you saw I just lifted up the stone off the tooth, no big deal. And we're back to the beginning. Take it just a little bit more, and now with the flip, do the other side. This is a 20-inch bar. It's got a fair number of teeth. This is fairly aggressive chain. It's not the green do-it-yourself chain. This is yellow chain, semi-professional chain. I'm kind of trying to keep my hand moved out of the way so that you get a better field of view about what I'm doing. Didn't catch any stone today, but the last time I was out I did nick a rock. Where I cut, there's more rock than soil, so it's real easy to get caught in a rock. It was a bunch of cutting top from a logging operation, so I was doing a lot of sawing with branches down in brush and uneven ground. This is a Stihl sharpening stone. It's designed for the Stihl sharpening tool, but it works just fine in a Dremel tool. Clips right in, tightens in, stays right where it should. And we're back to my original tooth. And the chain is sharp. I like to do this every time I'm done in the woods. I come in, I sharpen my saw. I have my guard marked sharp on one side, not on the other. So if I come out of the woods, I mark it that I know I've got to pay attention. Once I've sharpened the chain, I flip it up, put it on with the sharp side up. I know I've got a sharp chain. Good idea every time. I don't have an air compressor here, but pretty much every day before the saw goes back out to sit in the shed, I go the compressed air, blow out here, remove the air cleaner, blow off any dust, dirt around the inside. Always helps to keep your saws clean. Nice and tight. That's about it for chainsaw